Hey guys, so Donald Trump may announce his 2024 campaign on the 4th of July this year, so in less than 2 weeks, Donald Trump may make that early announcement that he will be running for a third time. I do believe that Donald Trump is going to run if he is healthy enough, as long as he is physically capable. I am confident that Donald Trump is going to run in 2024 against Joe Biden. He has been hosting rallies, making speeches, and blaming Joe Biden and the Democrats for basically the last 2 years since he lost the 2020 election. So Donald Trump most definitely is going to run. He has not held office since then, so he really has a lot of time on his hands, and he has spent that time trying to rally support for a third presidential run. And if he runs, he will defeat every other Republican in the field. He polls above 50% in most of the polls that have been released for a 2024 GOP primary. Only Ron DeSantis even comes a little bit close to beating him, although Ron DeSantis typically only has half of the support or even a third of what Donald Trump has in these polls. Ron DeSantis is not going to run against Donald Trump, so I think that if Trump makes an early announcement, he will basically be able to get all the other candidates out of the race. He won't have to fight against another candidate that had already gotten themselves into the 2024 primary for the GOP nomination. And Trump's chances of filing this year have increased significantly in the last couple of days, and that is because a lot of people are convinced that Trump is going to announce on the 4th of July. I think that would make a lot of sense. It would be a good day for Trump to announce his campaign, even though it would be early. But Trump is an unconventional candidate, so really anything can happen. So today I'm going to be taking a look at a hypothetical scenario between Joe Biden and Donald Trump in the 2024 presidential election. Of course, same thing goes for Joe Biden. I do believe that Joe Biden will run for re-election as long as he is in good health. Presidents typically do run for re-election. Every single president has run for re-election since Lyndon B. Johnson in 1968, and I think that Joe Biden will be no different as long as he is physically able to run another campaign and serve another 4 years in the White House. So that still may be in question whether or not Joe Biden is physically able to continue on as president. I think that if he could, he will run again, and I don't think that would surprise too many. The Democratic Party does want Joe Biden to run, even though those in the establishment are not putting their full force behind the incumbent president. There really is nobody significant to fill the void at this point in time. So I'm going to start off by filling in the solid states on this map. Of course, if Donald Trump were to win, this would be an unprecedented win, especially in modern political history. The last former president to win a second non-consecutive term, and the only one to do so is Grover Cleveland over 120 years ago. And for Donald Trump, the last president to even try to run for a second non-consecutive term was Teddy Roosevelt. He, of course, lost to Woodrow Wilson in 1912. So it has been over 100 years since any former president has made any real challenge to the incumbent since leaving office. So with the solid states filled in for Joe Biden, I have 155 electoral votes. For the former president, I will basically be giving him all of the states in the middle of the country. And so this should amount to a total of 113 electoral votes. Now, a lot of people may expect Donald Trump just to destroy Joe Biden. If you look at Joe Biden's approval rating, yes, he is pretty much the most unpopular president in American history. At this point in his presidency, of course, Joe Biden's numbers have basically been matching that of Donald Trump, and so that is why I don't think Joe Biden is going to get destroyed if he runs against Donald Trump. I think that there are better candidates that the GOP could nominate, but Donald Trump at this point in time still seems to be the Republicans' favorite. So if you look at the approval rating of Donald Trump, I mean, his approval rating was absolutely abysmal as well. And in 2020, he still did a lot better than what most people expected. He only lost Wisconsin by 0.63%, Georgia by 0.23%, and Arizona by 0.3%. If all of these states just shifted in favor of the former president by just a couple of tenths of a percent, he would have won the 2020 election. Donald Trump did not lose this election by a big margin. Joe Biden might have won over 300 electoral votes, but really these three states, Wisconsin, Georgia, and Arizona, these were tiny margins for the now president Joe Biden. And in 2016, it was a close race as well. So I really do not expect any candidate to get away with a huge victory in 2024, especially when you have these two very polarizing candidates and these two very unpopular candidates. When you have two very unpopular candidates running against each other, I don't expect any of them to do significantly better than the other. So with the solid states filled in, 155, 113. Now for the likely states for Donald Trump, I have the states of Alaska and South Carolina. I think both of these states will see double-digit margins, but just a little bit lower than 15%. So this will give Donald Trump an extra 12 electoral votes. I also have the state of Texas as being likely for the former president. Of course, he won the state by 5.6% in 2020. I think the his margin will go up. I do think that Joe Biden will underperform in a lot of the states that he was able to do significantly better than Hillary Clinton in. Trump, of course, won Texas by almost 10% in 2016. I also have both the states of Iowa and Ohio for the former president, as well as the 2nd District of Maine. In both Iowa and Ohio, Donald Trump does very well in. He does better than many Republicans on the statewide level in these two states, and the Rust Belt really is where Donald Trump has done the best. In both 2016 and 2020, Trump won both Ohio and Iowa basically by the same margin, and in 2016, he was the first Republican to win Wisconsin since 1984. That was, of course, when Ronald Reagan was reelected, and in 2016, he was the first Republican to win Michigan and Pennsylvania since 1988. That was when George H.W. Bush was elected. So Donald Trump did very well in the Rust Belt region. If you go to just 2012, these states were well within the Obama column when he ran for re-election. In 2008, it was even more. Michigan was literally a solid state for the Democratic Party. Obama even won Indiana. So in 2016, this was a major win for Donald Trump. He won the Rust Belt against all odds, and he did win them by very small margins. But in Wisconsin, I mean, Joe Biden won Wisconsin by a smaller margin than Donald Trump did in 2016. So I think that the Rust Belt really is a region that Donald Trump is going to continue to do well in. So I do believe that Iowa and Ohio will continue to stay in the Trump column as likely states. Now, for the likely Democratic states, starting off with the 1st District of Maine, I do think that Maine will start to get a little bit more competitive, especially if Joe Biden is on the ballot in 2024. I also have the states of Oregon and New Jersey. Both of these two states definitely will go to the Democratic Party, but I do think that the margins here will be a little bit lower than what we saw in 2020. They did go solid for Joe Biden in the previous election. The states of Colorado and New Mexico, 13.5 and 10% in New Mexico for Joe Biden in 2020. 2024, I think the margins will go down, but I do think that they will remain above 5%. I do think that Joe Biden, of course, will do worse than he did in 2020, although that does not mean that he is going to lose. I do think that Joe Biden still has a very good chance at winning his re-election. He is still the incumbent president, and that will help him in a potential re-election. In the state of Virginia, I have that as being likely for the Democrats as well. I did forget Vermont, so it's going to be an extra 3 electoral votes for Joe Biden, so I apologize for that. Vermont's 3 electoral votes I will give to Joe Biden as solid. Very obviously, Vermont is one of the most solid Democratic states in the country, but in the state of Virginia, I have it as likely, even though Glenn Youngkin did win in 2021 against Terry McAuliffe, it is still going to be a very difficult race for Trump to win on the presidential level in Virginia. This state has shifted significantly to the left. I mean, the state of Virginia used to be a Republican stronghold state, just like Texas. However, in the last decade, the regions around D.C. have shifted significantly to the left, and that is what's basically giving Democrats the state of Virginia at this point in time. So with the solid and likely states filled in for both Joe Biden and Donald Trump, I have 209 electoral votes for the incumbent and 189 for the former president. Now, looking at the races that we have left, this is very similar to what we saw in 2020. Really, the key races are not going to change too much. I think that Florida is going to be a lot less significant. I think that the Republicans have a much better chance at winning it now than they did in 2020. Donald Trump's solid 3.4 margin really made this race pretty much going to be not too competitive in the next election. I think that although Democrats will try, they will realistically not have too much of a chance at flipping Florida. Florida has consistently been voting more and more to the right, and this is very detrimental to the Democrats. And in the state of Florida, there's only one statewide Democratic elected official, and that, of course, is Nikki Fried as the agricultural commissioner. She is currently running for governor. She's probably going to lose the Democratic primary to Charlie Crist, but in the state of Florida, it really is getting tougher and tougher for the Democrats. North Carolina, I do think that Joe Biden is not going to win. He did very well in the polling here in 2020. He still ended up losing. I don't think that 2024 really is going to be a year where Joe Biden is going to be making a lot of significant flips. What Joe Biden needs to do is focus on retaining the states that he was able to win in the last election. And so with these states basically out of the question, the states that are going to matter are basically the same. The states of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. The upper Rust Belt region really is going to give either one of these candidates the presidency in the next election. Georgia and Arizona may play a big role if the Rust Belt is split between the two candidates, but really, it is going to be this upper Rust Belt region that is going to matter the most. If Joe Biden can win all three of these states, he will essentially win the presidency. He does not need to win Georgia or Arizona. So I'm going to now fill in the lean states on this map before we get into really the very close states, the tilt states. Starting off with the 2nd Congressional District of Nebraska, I have that going for Donald Trump. Joe Biden did win, but with redistricting and how much the 2nd district can sway, I do think that it will go back in the Trump column. And for the at-large vote in Maine, I do have that as lean as well for the incumbent. Now, looking at the other lean states on this map, starting off with neighboring New Hampshire, this state did vote for Joe Biden by 7% in 2020. I do think that margin will go down. If you go to 2016, the state of New Hampshire only voted for Hillary Clinton by 0.3%. This was one of the closest races that we had. Compare it to Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. Trump won Wisconsin and Pennsylvania by a larger margin than Hillary Clinton won New Hampshire. The only race that was closer in 2020 or in 2016 than New Hampshire was the state of Michigan, where Trump won by 0.2%. So I do think that Joe Biden will hold on to it. He won't do as poorly as Hillary Clinton, but I do think the margin will decrease from the previous election. In the state of Minnesota, I have this as being lean as well for the incumbent president, 10 electoral votes. This state has voted for the Democratic Party since every single election since the election of 1972. Ever since the election of Jimmy Carter in 1976, Minnesota has voted for the Democratic Party. So I don't think that Joe Biden's going to lose Minnesota yet, although this state is trending unfavorably for the Democrats. And for the lean Republican states, I have the states of North Carolina and Georgia. In Florida, I think these are really the two obvious ones. I also do have Georgia. I do think that the Republicans will win back at the Peach State. This state was one that they, of course, lost very surprisingly in 2020. They were able to hold on to North Carolina, but they lost Georgia. If you look at the 2016 election results, Trump won North Carolina by 3.7%. He won Georgia by 5.1%. If you go to 2012, North Carolina voted for Mitt Romney by 2%, Georgia by almost 8%. The state of Georgia really has made a drastic shift to the left since Donald Trump has been elected president. You go all the way back to 2008, North Carolina was a Democratic state. Barack Obama did win North Carolina. However, this was an anomaly. This was the only time the Democrats won in North Carolina since, again, 1976 in the election of Jimmy Carter. This was the last time Democrats won North Carolina with the exception of 2008. So in 2024, I fully expect the Republicans to take back Georgia. I think that there were a lot of very special circumstances in 2020 that allowed them to do so well on the Senate level as well, but I don't think that they will hold on to it. Another lean state I have on this map for Joe Biden is the state of Michigan. 15 electoral votes. He won it by 2.8% in 2020. I do think that he will be able to hold on to the state of Michigan. This state is still more favorable to the Democrats than it is for the Republicans, and I don't believe that Donald Trump is going to be able to flip back the state of Michigan. However, I do think that he will be able to win back Arizona for the Republican Party. 11 electoral votes. This was a more expected flip in 2020. However, Biden Biden still did win by a pretty disappointing margin of only 0.3%. If you look at 2016, though, this was a pretty significant shift. Trump did win the state by almost 4 percentage points in the previous election. You go all the way back to 2012. I mean, Mitt Romney won the state almost by double digits. So Arizona and Georgia, and basically the Sun Belt in general, especially including the state of Texas, has really shifted to the left a lot in the last couple of years. Even these southern states are not as strong for Donald Trump as they were previously for the Republican Party. So if you do look at the states of Arizona and Georgia, I do think that Trump will be able to win them back, although still by very small margins. They will still be very competitive states. So this leaves these three final races: Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Nevada. And pretty much it will still come out to the Rust Belt that will decide the election. Donald Trump, even if he wins Nevada, he will have to win one of these two Rust Belt states if he wants to win back the presidency. So I am going to give Donald Trump the state of Nevada 6 electoral votes. This state has been trending terribly for the Democratic Party. I mean, if you look at the 2008 results, this state voted for Barack Obama by almost 13%. In 2012, he was able to hold on to it by 7%, and the margin in both 2016 and 2020 have been just 2.4%. This is very disappointing for the Democratic Party. They are likely to lose the Senate race with Catherine Cortez Masto in these midterms this November, and so I think that Nevada can flip. I think this is a state that Donald Trump can flip for the first time in over a decade for the Republican Party. And so now, finally, the two states of Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. I will give the state of Pennsylvania to Joe Biden 19 electoral votes. This was his birth state. He won it by 1% in 2020. I think that he can hold on to it. I think Pennsylvania will be very, very close, but with 19 electoral votes, it will be a big boost to Joe Biden. But in the end, I will give the state of Wisconsin to Donald Trump. I do think that he will be able to flip it back and win it by a very tight margin once again, giving him the presidency with 279 electoral votes to Joe Biden at 259. Now, obviously, the election for president in 2024 is still very far away. I think that obviously this prediction right now does not really tell us that much. The race is still very much in the air, depending on who really is even going to run, whether or not Joe Biden or Donald Trump will even run once again, and whether or not we're really going to get the same rematch. But as of right now, with the data that we do have, the polling between the two candidates, as well as both of their approval ratings and how well they did in the previous election, I do believe that 2024 is going to be a very close race, and so that's why I have 279, 259. I'm not saying that Donald Trump is going to win, but right now, going into the election cycle that we're going to have in the next couple of years, I do think that Trump and the Republican Party are in a good position. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure you like it down below if you enjoyed it. Comment down below who you think will run in 2024 and who you think will win. Do you think that Joe Biden and Donald Trump will run again? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Make sure you join my Discord server if you have not. Subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in the next video.